In the realization segment, I talked about the need for an integrated tool set. And through a lot of trial and learning over the past several years, we've come to develop a better understanding of just what that integrated tool set needs to consist of. And we've continued to evaluate applications as we've been attempting to figure out how to do virtual collaboration. And some of the core requirements are, because of the virtual nature of what we're trying to accomplish, we really want the applications to be web-based. It would be good if they would track the changes that were made by different individuals, because in some instances you want multiple people to be able to modify things. And in certain instances, you'd actually like to have multiple users modify things at the same time if they happen to find the time slots that coincide with each other. And free would also be good, because that means it wouldn't be an impediment to people contributing. I mean, if a person is going to be engaged in a project for a day or a week, it probably doesn't justify them actually having to incur the cost of purchasing software to be able to contribute. Now, because we talked about not knowing who the appropriate contributors might be, you need some kind of social media vehicle to announce the fact that the project is underway and you're looking for collaborators. And over the years, we've used LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook. Medium is a newer vehicle that we've begun to use, and we've also used Google Plus to some extent. And the idea is to use those vehicles to announce the fact that the project does exist. We're looking for collaborators, and to go ahead and post updates as the project progresses. Now, if you're working on a project that's internal to an organization, you probably have internal equivalents of these applications. We've also pretty much decided that Insight Maker is the appropriate vehicle for doing simulation models. Initially, we were using it to do qualitative modeling and simulation models, though with the advent of Kumu, we're now using Kumu to do the qualitative models and a lot of the soft integration, which I'll talk about in the next segment to some extent. We're typically, in certain where it's appropriate to create videos, we're storing those in YouTube. We're developing some documents in Google Drive simply because they're multiple user and they integrate well into Kumu. We've used a wiki to some extent more in the past than we're currently using it now. We're finding that a lot of what we used to do in the wiki is now being replaced by Kumu. At times, there is a need for 2 or more people to have a exchange simultaneously. Things like Skype and Google Hangouts are sometimes appropriate. Sometimes it's appropriate to have something a little bit with a broader set of qualifications. We find that Zoom works well. It's not over-engineered the way that WebEx and GoToMeeting happen to be currently. In some instances, depending upon the project and the extent of the interactions, Slack might be a meaningful vehicle to establish quick interactions between participants. I know that the Kumu Slack community, which is called Kumidi, is quite active and works quite well because it actually gives Kumu users pretty real-time access to the developers, and so that it provides answers to questions on a real-time basis. Digo is a bookmarks manager that also works well for storing documents and doing outlines, storing PDFs. It's real good for managing all of the references associated with the project so that people can search for the various references that have come up along the way as you're working on the project. Now, there are a multitude of other applications that we have used from time to time, and probably additional ones that we will evaluate in the future as we find that the current set are simply not meeting all of the needs that we identify in the process of doing a virtual collaboration. It's very much a learn by doing kind of thing, and hopefully what we learn along the way others can use and not have to go through the same learning process that we've gone through over a number of years. So I hope this has been useful, and I'll see you in the next segment shortly. Bye.